Test, test, test. Gonna try and do this. Headphone monitors. I want to talk quietly. I want to talk. I want to talk quietly, but I don't want to mumble. So, someone tell me if I'm mumbling. If anyone joins this channel. If not, if you're watching this in the save stream, I hope I didn't mumble. Otherwise, just read the book on your own. Okay. Well. So I'm going to be going through. This is my girlfriend here. I'm going to be going through this book, Figure Drawing for All It's Worth, by Andrew Loomis. I'm pretty sure everyone's heard of it. It's free online, and if you haven't gotten yourself a copy, just go grab one real quick. Just Google search. I'll shoot do it right now. Andrew Loomis. Maybe it's Lumi. I don't know. Whatever. Just if you click on the second link here, you'll be able to find his books available for download. They work in iBooks. They work great. So, anyway, this is where I downloaded it from. It's alexhayes.com. I guess the main thing I'm going to try and do with my studies on this is get practice for myself, but also just go through the book and really read what it says. I think lots of people download art books and they don't read the words, they just start drawing. So, in an attempt to read through the actual book and follow along, here's where we'll begin. I'm using Corel Painter to mimic the real media that the book refers to. I normally use Photoshop, so if I have a lack of technical understanding of this application, it's because I use Photoshop. Hold on real quick.
Are you home?
Yeah.
You printer work?
No.
No?
No, it does not. Okay. That's my brother. My brother was asking me something through the door. Okay, so Corel Painter. Let's get started with the book. I don't think anyone's joined in. And I'm still getting used to Procaster, so I'm trying to find where everything is. Minimize mixer. Whatever. Preview. So let's start off by, you can read through the opening chat. Every bit of this book has a plethora of information that you should be thinking about and utilizing in any kind of artwork you're doing. A little bit about myself, I guess. Let's just back up. A little bit about myself. I live in Austin, Texas. Studied at the University of Texas. I got a bachelor's degree in fine arts. I worked as a production artist at a haunted attraction for about two and a half years full time, but I interned there about 6 or 5 years. Left that industry. I'm focusing on entertainment, concept design, visual development, all the stuff everyone else is trying to get into. And this is my live cast of my figure study sessions, which I want to do in hour sessions, and just go through this book and y'all can follow along. I'm not attempting to teach, I'm just showing you how I'm using it, which is how I'm just reading the book, so it's pretty self-explanatory. So in the first introduction, Andrew's breaking down his experience, what he does, why he does it, and what he's seen. I'm going to jump over here to this little section consistent gray throughout. So what he's doing now is analyzing beginner's work and finding characteristics that you should try and avoid or improve upon. Consistent gray throughout, so when using a soft pencil, you want to make sure you get good blacks out of it. Put the blacks in your subject first and state them strongly. By contrast, leave areas of white of the subject white or very light. Avoid putting overshooting grays and light. So, general statement about contrast, self-explanatory stuff. Lots of it. I mean, if y'all are past this kind of stuff, then it's kind of just rehearing and the same stuff you've always heard. The big thing you want to take out of this is that he's using a soft graphite pencil, which means if this were like a live session in front of people in a room, you'd notice that the blacks are a lot stronger than your standard number 2 HB pencil. He's probably going for like a B1, B2, or maybe not too soft, because then it's going to be too hard to get some of the lighter tones that you want to achieve. Okay, so the beginners work an overabundance of the small fuzzy line. Do not pet your line. Draw it cleanly with a long sweep. This is, I'll show you what he's talking about if you don't know what this is referring to. But if you see someone sketching like an eyeball and they're like doing this thing, they're just, lots of little kids do this. Some of my old drawing books, you can see that same sketch look, but that's not really. It's kind of like you're exerting too much effort. In my own drawing class, my basic drawing class I took in university, my professor harped on us about this too. And let's see, I'm trying to find. No, that's not the tracker. My professor harped on this about making your lines with a deliberacy, kind of just putting the line down and not sketching and scribbling about. So instead of doing this petting thing, you would make deliberate strokes, and with these deliberate strokes you're going to gain the practice and precision over time, so that in the future you can make the same shapes with smooth controlled forms. Lines. But basically, when you're sketching, you want fluid motions, and you want to avoid this jotty, like stabbing the paper, because it's not going to help you get any better. And when I mean better, I mean you're not going to be able to gain the technical skill to make the proper line work that you need. You're going to end up wasting time by petting in lines. It's going to take me so long to sit here and draw this in, because I'm going backwards on my stroke for no reason, and that's just detrimental, because you're doing double the work. So smooth, controlled as best you can. And in these studies, I'm not going to go for perfection. I'm going to go for following the directions of the book, and they're studies, and they're not meant to be easy. They're meant to push your technical ability. So in order to best utilize them, you got to forget trying to render out the best image and just follow what the studies dictate. So we'll move on. Features misplaced in the head. Learn the construction of the lines in the head and how they're spaced. See head drawing. I'm not going to skip to that yet, because there's a little instructional bit here that it's like an exercise we're going to follow through. and I don't want to get too ahead of myself. I want to go through the book page by page and read along with the actual text and kind of take up exactly what he's talking about. Rubbed, dirty, usually in a roll. Spray with fixative, font thin paper. So this isn't going to apply to us right now, or at least me. I'm working digitally, but try to never break the surface of the paper. This is very bad. I've done so. Start over. Keep your drawings flat. Keep your touch scrupulously clean. Need an eraser. Yeah. So you just, when you work on the graphite, it's messy. This is some more common sense stuff. Too many mediums of the same picture. For these studies, you got to pick what you want to work with, and in my case, digital, just because I'm live streaming this, and the studies are about following the instructions. So pick what you want to practice with, and just follow along with your chosen medium. But don't try and experiment with medium in this study, because you begin focusing on the materials you're using rather than training your brain and your hand-eye coordination to cooperate to more effectively draw. The tendency to use tinted papers. Black and white drawings look better on white paper than anything else. If you have tinted paper, then work with a color that's harmonious. For instance, so this almost seems like that he's harping on an issue, saying that if you can use a tan paper, you should use red or brown Conte crayon. But this is a fundamental that he's kind of slipping in here very covertly. Basically, he's saying that you need to think about using color in a harmonious manner, even in your studies, at all times. So whether you're sitting here drawing in your study session, or you're out in a park with Conte crayon and chalk on a heavy colored paper, you always need to be thinking about the fact that, in the end, people should look at your studies and go, you practiced, and not see a disgusting mess of orange paper with a green Conte crayon and like a bright yellow. And if you want to practice in colors and do some color studies, that's an entirely different subject. This book is about drawing the human body, so we'll stick with that focus. Copies of movie stars is potentially monotonous to everyone inspecting the beginner's work. Copying movies, we can also translate this copying photos. If you are trying to learn the anatomy, it is very easy to pick out a photograph, and photography techniques, specifically with movie stars and models, attempt to flatten the features of the face in order to achieve a smooth, uncontoured skin, so that the movie stars and models, they look flawless. But we want flaws. We want as many flaws as possible, and the more flaws, the easier it is to draw, really. So when you're looking for, if you have to work with photos, you need to look for high contrast photos that really have a light and dark, that have multiple points of light, and none of these like magazine photo shoot covers, because typically they're so well lit, they're specifically designed to wash out the features of the model or actor, to make them appear, like I said, flawless. Bad arrangement. If you're doing a vignetted head, plan interesting and unattractive. Don't run over the edge of the paper unless the whole space is being squared off. Bad arrangement. So we can say composition. If you're doing a vignetted head, okay, so if you're doing a vignette head, plan in interesting and attractive shapes. Don't run over the edge of the paper unless the whole space is to be squared off. Right. This is also just pre-planning. So a vignetted head, I'm assuming he means framed face. Don't run over the edge of the paper. You probably want to tape in a nice crisp line. He's talking about traditional media. Highlights and chalk takes very skillful artists to do this successfully. We're not going to worry about that right now because we're doing digital. Uninteresting subject. Just a costume does not make a picture. Every picture should have some interest, if possible. Other than the technical demonstrations, he should portray character or expressions. Right, so your first studies are going to be kind of bland to anyone that doesn't understand what you're doing. But eventually you need to practice all the expressions. And we're going to go here, watercolor is the most trickiest medium of all. I'm not going to worry about that. If you use watercolor, it's opposite of like oil painting, where you're kind of laying in from the bottom up. Oil painting, you can kind of just always go back over whatever you've already previously placed with oils. And watercolors, if you use watercolors, you know what I'm talking about, and there's no reason to go over this part right now, just because I'm worrying about this first exercise. And so why am I using Painter real quick? I'm using Painter because of the real media, and lots of these exercises involve specific pencil techniques that I want to utilize, and I've got a good angled pencil lead here that I can use. I'm using the pencils tool with the real 6B soft pencil. I use a soft pencil because, as the study said, as this book says, first get a soft pencil that will make good black. So that's what I've done here, except I'm working digitally. Let's just start off with an exercise now and get on to the bulk of what we're doing. Take any desired height and place 2 points for the top of the head and the heels. Right. And if you note, the heels is a line that's marked. So not literally these heels, but we're talking about heels as a bottom and then top. Let's start off and go ahead and do that. I'm going to clear this. Here's my heels line and any desired height. Alright, so here's my head line. Oops. Right, so heels and head. Great. Next step. Divide into eighths. 2 1/3 of these units will be relative width for the male figure. So dividing into eighths. Let's just eyeball it. We're not going to need to measure anything because this is trying to mimic working on a pencil and paper here. It's half. Yeah, maybe that's a little off from half, but about halfway. Halfway, and if I'm a little off, it's okay. It's not the focus. 1, 2, 3, 4. It's just part of the study. It's part of messing up and learning from those mistakes. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 8 segments, just like the book said, right? I think one of the reasons I'm doing this is because I've been reading on several forums, people trying to get through these anatomy books and not understanding exactly what they're doing or why they're doing it. But I feel like if you just read the book, it explains exactly what you need to know. So what are we doing right now? We're recreating this image. In the end, which is what we're going to be doing. Except he's telling you how to do it and the exact process to do it. Lots of people open this book, go straight to this, and just start drawing, not understanding why all these lines are here, why they've been placed there. And the whole purpose of the exercise is to build the figure in determined ideal proportion. Here we go. And I can already tell I kind of messed up here on my head units, and I'm not going to continue that. So I'm just going to bump up my line here. 1, 2, 1, 2, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8. Right, so like I said before, we had an issue just now. Oops. My shift button's not working for some reason. You're going to see me do mistakes, create mistakes, and that's part of the study. I'm not going to hide anything. There's no 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That should be fine. This is a little off, but it's part of the learning experience. There we go. I'm going to disregard this line. Right, so got the distances here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. For the width, he says that 2 1/3 of these units will be the relative width for the male figure. So if we count 1, 2, and like a third, I'm going to translate that. 1, 2, a third, about here. That's just my eyeballing it, I guess. Just put that in there. It's a guide. It's not necessary to stage this attempt. It is not necessary at this stage to attempt to render the anatomy correctly. Right, so if your drawing doesn't look like this guy, or if his arms are small, or the muscles are off, or the abdominal is just the wrong way, it's not the point of this exercise. It's only proportions. It's the only thing we're worrying about right now. Draw the figure in the 3 positions: front, side, and back. Note the comparative widths of the shoulders, hips, and calves. Note that the space between the nipples is 1 head unit. That's actually pretty helpful if you're drawing your ideal male. And as we get through the book, we're going to see that there's various types of figures, and as you know from real life, that there's various weights of people that you're going to have to learn about. Studying reference or life drawing is going to help with that. The waist is a little wider than the 1 head unit, so you can kind of see the distance here. Just visually pick that up. It's almost, it's half. It's almost like half the width of the head, an extra half, so it's like head, and then extra little bit, you go straight down, and there's the outside of the hip. Half to the ear, down. My cursor's not moving entirely the way I want it, but just visually you need to break that apart in your mind. He's already written in so much here. Some of the stuff you just need to take a look at yourself and just put those cues in. The elbows are about, this is pretty cool, I didn't know this, the elbows are about on the line with the navel, and if you kind of put your arms down to the side, you can see that it's about right, and it just says about, so depending on who you are and how long your arms are, you may or may not have that lining up more correctly, or a little off. Who cares? People are different. But the knees are just above the lower quarter of the figure. Right, so the lower quarter of my figure, these are divided into 8s, so every 2 8s is 1/4. 1, 2, 3, 4. So the knees are just above the lower quarter. So my knees should be somewhere right here, right? Because that's what I just said. This is the lower quarter, and they're just above there. So I just put in these little markers here, just to note that. The shoulders are 1/6 of the way down. The proportions are also given in the feet so that you can more accurately relate the figure to furniture exteriors. Okay, so to furniture and interiors. Keep in mind that lots of this book was created for commercial illustrators before cameras were widely available, when any advertisement in any print or medium basically had to be drawn or painted because there was no color camera available to use. I just lost where I was here. The proportions are also given in feet so that you can more accurately relate the figure to the furniture and interiors. The shoulders are 1/6 of the way down. That's what I mentioned. Okay. 1, 2, 3. Right, so we're going to go ahead and start the drawing, the actual drawing of the study. Since each eighth is a one head, I'm going to start with the head. And from there, we'll be able to build our way down. I've already marked where the knee should be, according to Andrew here in this book. And if I mess up, then so be it. The point of this is the practice, though, so we're not looking for perfection. I'm trying to find my chat box. I can't see that. Here we go. There, it looks like there is no one in here. Great. So, let's begin. Drawing the head. It's a little too big, whatever. The main. That's the line I'm not supposed to look at, so it's in the head here. I'm kind of correcting it as I go along. It's not perfect, but that's okay, because this is a study, and it's a sketch, and it's only supposed to be practice. He's got a real squared off head here. I'm going to go into the neck. So if this is an eighth, and this is a fourth, then a sixth, should be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, a little off there. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, whatever. I'm just gonna eyeball it. Shoulder is supposed to be a sixth of the way down. Let's take a look at this for reference. 1/3 chin. So about a third of this next little notch is going to be the slant and incline from the neck to the top of the shoulders. And then we're going to drop down to the next notch, and that's going to be right in line with the nipples, which happen to be separated by one head width. This could all seem silly, some of this stuff, to you, but it's just part of learning anatomy. So we're going to get through these studies, and Andrew's actually got this little disclaimer at the beginning of the book that if you don't like nudity, then just get out of this business, because you need to learn how to draw everything. Let me do myself a solid real quick and adjust my brush size. Erase this. Windows, zoom in, actual size. I like to work at 100%. For these videos, 100% is good, just because it's what you see is what you get. You know, if I'm zoomed in too close, when I finally zoom out to see the whole image, it's going to look completely different from what I thought I was seeing. So this is where the top of the shoulders are, and remember, let's take a look at that proportions again. The head length. And if we add another head length, half a head length, we go down to the hips. If we add a whole head length, we're like right on the outside of the arm. So I'm going to keep that in mind when I'm drawing down. This should slope down because this is the top of the shoulders right here. And let's do the other side. Always draw both sides at the same time. Don't do that thing where you draw one side and draw the other side. And do one head length. So another head length. It's about, I'm eyeballing it. because these aren't exact measurements. I'm going to bring the shoulder out. Go ahead and bring the shoulder out further too, here. So this is the top of the shoulder here. It's a little under. It's alright. It's okay if it's not perfect. That's not the point. Once again, it's not the point of this exercise. I'll take down a pencil size so I can get some finer lines here. So the difference with the scratchy marks you're seeing here versus this brushy stuff I was talking about earlier, it's a little too small, is that I'm kind of correcting as I draw versus just trying to lay in what's supposed to be a solid contour, a solid line. Let's say this is a line, and according to the book's terminology, this is a line. That's a line. And a contour would be the shading of a form and the perceived line. The perceived line being the fact that this space here is lighter than this space here. So you visually see a line that doesn't exist. So when I say contour, I'm meaning the edge of a form in contrast with negative space. That's the contour. It's that line that you would draw if this was like a shoulder. You would draw that line there. And this line is literally my pen stroke, my pencil stroke line. Okay, back to the study. Let's see. So shoulder top here. This should be the chest, one head length away. Should be. Let's go down the divider line. I'm just drawing this as a visual guide for myself. You do not have to do that. Collarbone should be right in here. This guy's looking a little bulkier than the book's version. Well, he's pretty bulky, I guess, too. And if you saw this guy in real life, you'd think, wow, he works out a lot. I sound like a dork on this thing. Alright, anyway. So the shoulder's going to come just past this third notch. Right? So shoulder came just past. Shoulder came just past. This half of the... So if this is the... these are the hips. We'll call this the waist, right? Because in the olden days, you know, you wear your pants up here, which is still true in lots of suits. Guys, there's a low-rise jeans are here. Pants normally come up to here. Low-rise pants here, just so you all know. So this is the waist. If we go up, we should see maybe the hips. The hips line up with the half of the head. I'm just going to continue down the arm though, and we'll see that on this next notch, the elbow is going to line up with the navel. So I need to start hitting elbow by this notch here. So let's just draw that in. This is the deltoid. This is the bicep. This is where the elbow would be on the back side of the arm. The navel should be here. This is the deltoid going down. I'm gonna push this out a bit more, just because I know that I'm kind of off on some of these. Elbow, right? We're following along with the proportions. This is the whole point of these first introductions. You're supposed to follow along with exactly how he's described it. If you were a professor in a studio with you, he would be doing the step-by-step with y'all. Bring these lines down. I'm just kind of eyeballing it right now. This is the thinnest point of the waist here. Then it's going to kind of curve out and in. It's not going to go straight down. It's not going to scoop in. It's going to do this gentle straight line into a curve and back in. And at this point, another third of the way down from the navel is where the top of the hips are. Right? So, a third of the way down, mark that. So we should have it curve down and in, right? Down and in. There we go. It's about a third of the way down. Right, we're eyeballing it now. Remember, we're going to take a ruler. We're not doing technical drafting. We're making observations about the human body and the proportions. This is how you're supposed to use this book. And I keep saying it, but the majority of the reason people don't seem to understand how to use it is because I don't think they're reading. Because there's this whole body of text here that explains exactly what you're supposed to do. So at the top of the hips, we're going to go down, we're going to hit the groin area. And you're going to notice that third of the way down within this area is the wrist, right? This may or may not be the same on different people, but for this case, the wrist is going to fall between line number 4 and the third marker. So, let me do something I should have done at the beginning. I'm going to number these. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 9. Right. 1. Okay, so he starts on the heels are 0. That's why I've numbered it differently. So, we'll say this is 0 or 9. It doesn't matter. The whole point is this is the bottom. I'll make it slightly darker so y'all understand. We're not going to go past this point. Back to the drawing. I'm sorry, back to the book. So this bulk of the forearm muscle is going to kind of reach its thickest point right in this area, this general area. So I'm going to incorporate that with a few lines. My drawing's a little off. What's important is that I'm noticing where it's off and that I'm messing up. That's part of the study. If I didn't realize that I was a little off while creating the study, then I'm very new at drawing. That's really the only difference. Is that I like the soft one. It means nothing as far as other than the fact that I'm just obviously I've never done this before. You know, I'm just happy to be creating something. But in this case, I'm happy to be following along with the study and realizing where my drawing is differing. Right? Let's take this down. So where was this? A third of the way. It's the bulk of the arm. The beginning of the hips right here, I believe. That was right. Let's take a look. Yeah, hips start here. And so this little bulge right there, that's the pelvic bone. And if I had a pencil and I was drawing on the book, you'd be able to see the shape of the pelvic bone and the pelvic bone. If you don't know the names of the bones, the muscles, that's okay. It just helps. It helps when you're trying to convey this to other artists or people that this bulge is off. You could just say the pelvic region is off. we notice we're still not anywhere near the hands. We're here, section 5. Oh, here we go. The hands, past section. So my numbers are off. So we actually are section 4. That's where we are, section 4. And his section 4 is our section 5. So just number this the correct way so that it's not so confusing, especially if you happen to get the bright idea to live stream your studies. So keep that in mind, anyone that's watching this later, that I numbered it differently. It doesn't really matter because I'm getting valuable practice. Here's that bulge for the pelvic bone, and after the pelvic bone you have more muscle that comes out for the top parts of the hips. And I think 5 was the crotch, and he marked it with an X. I believe that, yeah. So, and then from there you'll notice that there's this little cut here, and that's where the hips connect to the body, and I believe he stops the groin crotch area right here on line 5, which is his line 4. We're going to begin the wrist, the beginning of the wrist. Let's mark that in. Mark that in. Now see, if we pretend there's a skeleton in here, oops, there. This would be a semi-straight bone, so me creating lines like this implies his bone's broken. In this case, I'd want to erase and correct, because that's kind of an outlandishly terrible mistake for an anatomy study. You want to go back in and correct stuff like that. I don't want to show off that he's like got broken bones or anything. Take the hand past here, and the wrist begins right around here. Right, so that's the meaty portion of the hand here, and then I got a little. This one arm slightly higher, like off the body than the other. That's not as important right now. I'm not worried about that. Line 4, a third of the way down is the buttocks. So this is going to help us when we get to the side profile and the back. But right now, you can't really tell that is really marking anything other than a portion of the. In his drawing, you see that this little marker kind of cuts into the right hand, but on the left hand, it almost hits exactly where the wrist is. So it's a little off too. So if your drawing looks a little off, dude that wrote the book did the same thing. Don't worry about it. It's not a big deal. Fingers. A third. Is that a third? Maybe it's just a marker for the fingers. Whatever. Bottom of the knees. So this is bottom of the knees. Keep that in mind. My knee marker is right here. Just knowing that that's going to be the bottom. And if you look at the knee, you will see that there's kind of two parts to it. That's the joint of the bone. That's where, femur, I believe, ends here, and the other part of your bone begins here. And then your patella is that little bitty kneecap bone that's right here. So this bulge is bone 1 with all your different tendons and whatnot. Bone 2, you kind of see that. Maybe not. That's the patella. Should be kind of like that, I guess. Long story short, most people draw a knee with one little line. These are 2 lines. That's my main point. So we'll put in that second little mark here. Right. He's got a little bit of the muscle here, and he's also got the guy like standing at attention. So what I've done here is I've spread the legs of my guy too wide. I'm going to correct that just to match up this study a little more. So and he's got the hips here. Hips are kind of variable. I don't want this guy to look like a bodybuilder, so I'm giving him some average hips. I'm repositioning the knee. It's the bottom of the knee, which means that second part would be up here. I'm using some different line markings. It would really imply it more. It'd be a little subtle, more subtle. Bring that down. It's actually touching here, so let's just do that. Right. So here's something that's I always like drawing this. There's outside hip, and then there's this little moment where the muscle kind of stops and it dips to the joint, then it comes back out. Oops, wrong way. So you keep that in there. Straight lines in, hip muscles, quads, and you begin the calf. Right? Back to this now. So one head width. Pay attention to these little markers. So this is one head, and the distance between the calf muscles when they begin their convergence is one head. So I can look at this and tell that I'm off, because this one head is supposed to occur right here. There should be like one head right here, right? And according to the study, you're supposed to have the calves, which are like touching here, touch within this one head width, right? That is why we are doing this study, to find out the mistakes. For the record, I kind of had him in a different stance, but then also there's no reason for me to try and explain myself on a study. It's ridiculous to apologize for learning. Let's see here. So wait, so the calf comes out, and the outside of the calf needs to be one head. This gap is way too big, because there's none here. So, right. Just correcting. I'm just completely repositioning his legs to match up. Say that's the knee. Say that's the knee. When I draw actual figures, I don't do this. I don't grid out, like 8 heads and draw in the figures. What I normally do is block out the figure, draw in my idea, and inevitably go look in the mirror and check my proportions using myself as a reference, or I'll find a photo image of the pose, because there's more foreshortening out there in the world than you're gonna imagine, because when you try and draw something, you're always gonna try and make it easy. Your mind's gonna try and go the easy route, but typically it's the foreshortening that exists in reality is either gonna make your drawing much harder or much easier. Sorry. So what I mean by that is, like, if you're trying to draw a hand facing somebody, lots of people, they try and without looking at reference, they might try and incorporate this, like, depending on the angle, you know, it's always different. This deal here where they want the hand coming straight forward, and they think that by adding the arm, they're somehow showing, you know, in real life, you're not going to be able to see shit. Pardon my language. I'm going to swear on this channel, so if you're offended by that, I'm sorry. But I'm not like a sailor or anything. So, and by not, I mean, I'm not a sailor, I don't swear like a sailor. Back to the study. Getting a little sidetracked there. Anyway, I don't draw like this normally because this is a study. So, when following the directions of this book, I'm forcing myself to conform to some grid system and pay attention to certain things that I normally add in after the fact. And in this case, I'm trying to follow those guidelines from the beginning. And thus, I am learning and adjusting as needed in accordance with this book. Typically, if you're going to art school, what would happen is you would have the teacher show you this entire process. They'd be like, alright, set up a grid, mark 8 heads, begin drawing like such, note that this head stops here, and the nipples are here, and it's a head apart from each nipple, and the navel is here on this mark here. And they go through this entire process and show you what to do. And then they would give you like an hour or 30 minutes or whatever to follow along. And they'd come by and like watch you as you do it. And that's what you're going to get in a classroom environment. A real like technically involved classroom environment. I didn't go through any of this stuff when I was in college. We did do life drawing, and I learned some of the basics from other various teachers throughout my years. But all in all, I did not go through this process of learning exactly how the body lines up and why. This mark, so from the nipples down, it's about another third right here. The sternum, the rib cage stops here. There we go. We got these muscles here on the neck. That's about, I mean, on these fists too, it's kind of depending on how, like, what the guy's doing. You could have his fingers open. You know, anyway. So this could vary. That's what I'm trying to tell you, because in his drawing, he's got like this loose fist. There we go. So this is the front, right? We followed along. I have not placed the facial features in because that's coming along later. That'll show up later. And if you want to, we can do it real quick. It's the face. You do this little, oops. You do the dividing line. Mark across. You've got an eyeball. The distance between the two eyes is another eye. The nose, the iris is typically lined up with the ends of the the ends of the lips. If you were to mark this line up, you would put the the pupil, the face. It's got the same kind of proportion set up as the body, where you're gonna the bottom of the ear comes to the bottom of the nose, top of the ear is typically the brow, depending on how people are shaped or what expression they're making. It might differ. When a relaxed face. And this is supposed to be a male proportion, remember, so in Andrew's book he says, I'm saying Andrew because I'm not sure if it's Loomis or Loomy, but once I figure that out, I'll switch. I could Google it, but I'm trying to study drawing right now. Ideal height of a girl with heels is just up to the ear of the man. So this ideal proportions. You got to remember this guy was in advertising, so these are like the beautiful people of advertising. The same way Coca-Cola is going to hire young, good-looking, athletic people for their commercials. There's a reality they're trying to create. It's not real, and Andrew even goes through this in his book that most people are on average 7.5 heads, with the ideal proportion being 8 heads, which means ideally I guess everyone wants to be taller and thinner, obviously. Let's go to the side profile now. Side profile. Let's go to the profile, because the side profile would be like the front or the back. Wrong page. Got a big mess here. I'm gonna start a new layer just so I can avoid this crap. This is how to use this book. If you're wondering how to use studies properly, this is how to do it. I listened to Crimson Daggers, and Dan Warren, Dave Raposa. I've got concept art DVDs, and I even took one of their painting classes. But the biggest thing I've learned is you just gotta sit and work. And there's some good things I learned in the painting class, but all in all, I could have learned it on my own if I just sat down and worked nonstop. I could have come to the same conclusions that they were telling me outright. Because once someone tells you what you're messing up on, you still got to go back and fix it. You got to go back and stop doing what it is you were doing. Excuse me. So shoulders at 5 feet. Okay. 9 inches. Head 6 feet. We're drawing a 6 foot guy. I'm not 6 foot. I'm like 6. I'm 5'8". No, maybe I'm 5'6". I'm like right here. This guy tall dude. I'm gonna start with the head profile. Work my way down again. There's some other new considerations. This buttocks line is now going to be much more useful to us. And calves drop back of the buttocks and shoulders. So this line's telling me that the calves are going to be behind the butt and shoulders. So if when I'm drawing I notice that the calves are lined up with the butt, it means I messed up. If they're lined up with the shoulders, it means I messed up. These guides are here for that reason. This is how you... my mantra will be, this is how you use this book. You have to read it in order to use it. It's just funny that... Here's... Okay, that's... Oops. Change the angle on my pin. Actually, you know what? We're hitting the hour mark. I gotta adjust my settings real quick because I thought I had some hotkeys set up that I don't. Wacom tablet. In my next study session, I'll go over my Photoshop settings that I use. Illustrator, functions, Illustrator, Corel Painter. My undo's down here. That's strange, it should be right here. Keystroke, Command Z, undo. There we go. That should be it. Right, so undo's going to help me on some of the little silly mistakes with the guides that I would have taken more care probably if I had a pen and paper, because you can't undo. The butt line. Damn it. The butt line. There we go. The head, so from the top of the head down to the chin. Oops. I'm going to go a little above because I feel like I've drawn it a little off on these guides. There you go. Yeah, that's not okay. Right. So the top of the shoulders, remember, it's supposed to be here at the third mark. Let's go ahead and just extend that very lightly, whatever. We're gonna go, this is that butt line, right? So I'm gonna move this drawing over just a tad. We drew it in the wrong layer. Screw it. The butt line will be back here. I'm just not gonna worry about it right now. Top of the shoulder should be here. The bottom of the head, remember this is supposed to be the whole head, so the neck. And here's that little shoulder muscle. I need to learn the name of that. Take a look back here. He's got a straight soldier posture. My guy is leaning forward, so that's going to tell me one thing, that I'm messed up a little bit. It's alright, just draw over it. Not even going to erase it. Not even. Because it doesn't matter. Because this is a study. This is practice. No one should come over to this. If this were my sketchbook, no one would open this and care that it's a big scratchy thing. Because the whole point was me learning. I don't know if I said this already, but I thought of it earlier. But you gotta think of doing these studies like studying for math. And if you study for math, you got a bunch of these scribbles, numbers written everywhere, and you went over to the right and left of the paper and wrote 50 plus 70. You know, you do all this extra work on the side, and then you go back and you write in the answer. So these studies are all the extra scribbles on the side of, you know, we'd say your entire body of work. And you'd write in the answer. Look, see, look how short that distance is. I'm not doing that right now, so I'm going to correct that. It's okay if the studies are messy, because your quote-unquote answer will be your actual commission of pieces for clients or your own personal work. And so if you have messy studies, it doesn't matter, because the whole point of doing messy studies is you won't do messy professional work, personal work, finished personal work. This is personal work, but okay. So the deltoids, remember, are supposed to come just past this line. I'm guessing a lot of it and I'm kind of pulling from the fact that I've drawn most of my life. I don't want it to look too big. This is the tricep, this is the bicep, this is the elbow, because remember the elbow is supposed to come back here, and then you've got this forearm. You've got it kind of angled differently. Probably, I say different, I mean you probably got it correctly angled. Got it like out here. The wrist just comes out. Remember, he's got the wrist just past here, and he's got like this real loose fist. This angle is like fundamentally different from what I just drew, so I'm just gonna correct it. Just draw it in over it. My CPU is above 80%. Try closing other apps. Let's see, what do I have open? iTunes. Quit. iCal. Quit. Email. Safari. Quit. Yeah, perfect streaming now. Right, okay, so you notice that there's a big difference, like this head's like really small compared to that one. And his is not like that. Some things I'm noticing when drawing like this. It's just something you notice. It's part of the process of doing studies. I'll keep saying over and over again. If y'all are learning, I'm learning as far as I've worked professionally at a company I did haunted house stuff, which means I did like costumes, special effects makeup, mask making, sculpting. I'm learning the business of this, the illustration business, but I've been drawing all my life. And you know, if you're like me and you watch Crimson Daggers and you watch these guys make their videos, you gotta remember that they started off the same way you did, or I did. The hard work they put into Crimson Daggers and concept art and whatever else, all that hard work is from years of working hard and doing this kind of studies and such. I'm on the separate layer, I forgot that. So don't get discouraged when you watch that kind of stuff. Don't think, oh, I'm never going to get there, because that's a lie. Go back, look up Dave Raposa's thread on concept art. If you don't, look at, he's got all of his old stuff on there from like when he first started posting, and when he was like in high school, I think, till now. You know, he's like a professional artist working with a bunch of companies. Let's go back to the study real quick. Oops. Lower legs are back of middle line through figure. The lower legs are behind this midline that he's drawn through the figure. So I better put that in, right? That's the midline. So my lower legs, when the knees are here, bottom of the knees are here, maybe the bottom of the knees are here, the lower leg is going to be the back of the middle. And so you're going to get this thing too. And we didn't draw the butt line. Remember, the leg's supposed to go further than the butt. I'm going to leave it like that and continue. What I was saying, I'm sorry, I was saying about Dave Raposa and all those professionals. You can look up there. Well, I haven't looked up the rest, but I know you can look up Dave's work on concept art, and you can see his beginning drawings till now, and you can see that his development That's the point of that's one of the reasons you keep a sketchbook is you can track your development, and it's also just kind of cool to look at. I've got sketchbooks from I started regularly keeping sketchbooks from 6th grade on up, and so like I'm not gonna go. I was about to scroll back to the other window, but I'm not going to, because I want to. From my own, I've seen lots of skeletons. Here's that top of the sternum. This is going to be the furthest point, unless this guy's like overweight. The way the skeleton is formed in the human body, the rib cage is going to go down, and then you're gonna have like that muscle here, and it's gonna kind of come out. These are the abdominals. Let's take a look at this. Yeah, see? Yeah. You got the rib cage lines. The butt, I believe, is past. It's almost the same. It's almost a little further. Oops. So let's just put that in. See how far his hands like kind of cover up. So this would be where the pelvis is, and the pelvis is angled. I'm jumping back and forth from wherever I'm talking. To get back on the subject, I was saying is everyone starts off somewhere, and you can go back and literally see some of these guys, because they've been keeping their work online. Look at that, this little jump here. See how that doesn't match up anymore. So if he didn't do it, I'm not going to, because I think they should have matched up here, right? So I think the nipples, but if he didn't do it in his book, I'm not going to do it either. I'll just keep in mind that the amount of nipple drawing I'll have to do is going to be few and far between. I am anticipating this should be the buttocks and the back. Remember that the calves are supposed to go past that line, right? Yeah, see? Which means I'm off somewhere. I'm off on this back. I think the back should be more right here, I guess. And his arms are kind of getting bigger than they should be. Let me just erase this, because this is getting a little confusing as far as like me trying to show y'all. At least me seeing my own work here. So the back, but there should be another little moment of no muscle. No muscle. This connection here, muscle, tendons, smaller muscles and such, is always going to kind of be perceived as like this slightly straight line. And well, I keep mentioning that knee thing because I think lots of people start off. Like, let's see how far back. If this is supposed to be where the calves are, let's see how off I am, right? And then the heel goes out, and then like that's. So this kind of helped me correct, right? Yeah, helps me correct, because if I was trying to see, I think the calves actually, that's in line. They need to go out this far in order to stay with this ideal male proportion. They need to go this far back. There we go, that's not too bad. Alright, so that's the side. Just taking my time. He's done this thing. I'm not gonna do that just because dude's got 2 legs. You know, I'm not going to draw on that little side thing just because I just don't need it. Let's divide that. And now we're going to do the back. Hour and 15 minutes. When I'm done with this, I'm going to draw Lilu from Fifth Element. I'll probably live stream it, but I won't be talking. I'll just be sketching and playing music. Oops, my time machine's trying to back up. That might be slowing down some things. Okay. Yeah, there we go. CPU at 36%. I hope that's good. Hope some of y'all might have faster computers than me. Alright, so let's get to this part. Ideal. I'm not going to put that in. We're not drawing a girl. Here's the 9 inches. This is the bottom of the chin. That's the bottom. So this is the neck muscles, back muscles. So this isn't a dude with a long chin. It's just the neck, the front neck muscles, and then the back. And this big contour, this big line would not exist if you were painting it in, because it would be a matter of tone and shade. Let's just get to it. I'm going to try not look at this one this time, but I'm going to follow along with everything that we've been doing. So this is supposed to be the head. This is supposed to be the bottom of the head. I'm going to draw it like it's a front-facing head, because obviously I'm way off right here on the proportion. Man, it's terrible line work right now, but whatever. Looks way too small, right? There we go. Just kind of bring it out a bit. Okay, this is where the shoulder is supposed to be. These are the neck muscles. So that's the back here. This is that. When I do my Lilu drawing, I'll also be doing it in Photoshop, not Painter. I'm just not used to the interface and the tools and the way they behave. Do you remember this? The distance is one head, about one head. And the ear, so we put another head out here. So we just do a fake head right here. Another fake head. Just a guide, rough guide, not trying to make it perfect. It kind of just tells me where I want that arm. It's looking a little bulky, a little maybe too bulky. Remember, this line's supposed to be the top of the shoulders, so this is wrong. Let's just go back over and do that again. That's a little too far off. I can't let that fly. Bring these out further. Bring the shoulders there. Distance is ahead. About. Right? So we use that about word so much in the drawing anatomy. That's the navel. So which means that this distance is about half a head out. So if I do another half head here and a half head here, that should be the distance of the navel where it comes in. Half head, navel, right? Navel. Then it comes back out again, remember? Just like on the front one. Then there's that second, this is the pelvis bone. Pelvis bone. A little off there. I'm trying to go faster, but I'm also trying to keep it symmetrical. And that one thing about drawing people and symmetry is that people aren't symmetrical. They're not perfectly symmetrical. I mean, of course people are symmetrical, otherwise it'd be terrifying creatures roaming around. But people are not perfectly symmetrical. It's a falsity, a falsehood. And faces are especially crooked in the best way possible. If you're slightly off in the face and you're drawing an original character and you're just subtly off, don't worry about it. Because, unless it needs to be a robot, people have slight variations in their facial features to create asymmetry. I don't have a symmetrical face. Most people don't. Their eyebrow or their eye sockets are slightly off, or their nose is crooked. Sometimes it's because they broke it. Where was that line? We had the butt. We didn't draw the butt line in. Oh, it's right here, right? So it should all be Whoa! It should all be continuous. That's obviously wrong. There. This should be the bottom of the butt. Right? That was where. How does he draw it? He draws this thing. Bottom of the butt. And the hips didn't come out more than another half head or something like that. Remember, he's got the hips. His legs, he's any attention, so like, this dude's like, soldier stance. He's probably got his knees locked. You shouldn't do that because you'll faint. These are the deltoids. These are the triceps. This is going to be where the elbow is, if you remember. Forearm, the bottom of the wrist to the wrist, hand. I'm not going to go into too many details on the fingers, there's no need for that right now, because this is about the proportions. And there's going to be plenty of the finger stuff later. In fact, I think he's got a whole book on hands and heads, which we'll look at later. I'm not trying to teach, I'm just trying to do what the book says. And show people how to use this book. For those that don't know, especially the beginners. See, I just put his arm out there for no reason. I don't know why I did that, but probably because I'm trying to stick to the guides a little too much. I know that the arm's supposed to be closer, which means that I probably drew this. I drew this guy a little too wide here. Is what it means. He's supposed to be a little beefier there. Elbows, forearm, down to wrist to fist. There we go. Hips spread out a little bit, because this is where the top of the knee was, remember? Then you do the calves. Just gonna go down. And this would be where the foot, the heel, is. And typically feet they aren't perfectly straightforward. In this case they are, so I'm going to correct that. And notice he's got some chunkiness going on here. He's not as trim as this dude. That's all my fault. But it's also part of the study, so it's part of the process of studying. I'm noticing things that I did not previously notice. Let's take a look at some of the back features. Shoulder, kind of, well, obviously, this here, this shoulder blade, that would be here, because, you know, which means this line's a little off. can erase this, just make that nothing. Go back in, this back of these legs, bring that down, out. Remember, this is supposed to be a head width right here, so let's draw a little head real quick. It's about head's width, right? It's supposed to be like this. The only reason I drew that was to convey how wide it's supposed to be. There you go. It's about right. There you go. There is the study. It doesn't look like the book. It's not supposed to. It's supposed to be our rendition of that. And this is our studied observation of the proportions as according to the figure for what it's worth. Let's go to the next page here. The female figure is relatively narrower, 2 heads at the widest point. We're not going to start any of this now. I'm going to actually end the stream to save it, but this is what I'm going to be doing. Like today, I'm going to go through these sections and follow along as the book directs me to. And it's only taken me about an hour and a half. Perfect. So, I'm going to end it now. Hope you can join me again live and chat with me, which will probably end up taking a lot longer. But otherwise, you can find this on the live stream, and if people end up wanting it, I'll put it on YouTube. But if you followed along, you should have something like this. If it's off, it's okay. It's the whole point. So you're studying. And I guess my biggest advice to you is you need to read. Read the books. If you don't know how to use these books because you're not reading, they're very self-explanatory. They very much self-explanatory. So, congratulations to anyone that followed along and finished. Thank you for watching this stream. I'll be back again to continue through this book. And when I'm not doing the studies, I'll be live streaming digital painting. And if I do get some requests to talk about my settings in Photoshop, I will. It's very straightforward. It's very much everything you've already heard from every other artist, but I will gladly answer questions. I'm currently working with a film production company that does not allow me to show much work that I am doing. So everything you see is personal work. And if you ever need advice in the film world, as far as indie and low-budget films go, I have lots of experience with that. If you need any kind of design advice, I used to be an art director at a haunted house. It's a little different from the illustration world, but I can tell you what an art director's looking for as far as his portfolios and whatnot. If you're interested in special effects makeup, don't talk to me about it, but I can give you advice on where to go. So I guess talk to me about it. Just contradict myself. We got 1 more minute to go till it's 1.5 hours. Thank you again for watching this, and you can find me on Facebook, www.facebook.com/IIIMCIII. Or you can find my website, www.mciii.net, or you can follow me here. My handle on Crimson Daggers is Mike086, and Concept Art Forum, Mike086. That's MIKE086. And generally, I use that username for most social networks and forums, so find me there unless someone else has taken it. I'm from Austin, Texas. Thank you for joining me, and good day.